Oh, hello and welcome to What Are We Talking About with Jamie Jakes. I am him. I'm sitting here with Mr. Most Days Off, Miles Francis, and we are going to do his very first best ball fantasy football draft on Underdog Fantasy.
Basically, I was a guest on Jamie's show for his draft a couple days ago, and he tricked me into somehow letting let him spend my money on fantasy football.
He's my promo code and everything, so I got like $25 back.
Beautiful,
from
man.
Underdog Fantasy.
Glad I can be helping out.
Free bets, so I appreciate that.
What is that promo code if anybody else wants to join the cult?
JAM, JKS, HB. If this is your first time doing fantasy football on the best ball platform, we're just going to take Miles through it because it is his first time. So if it's your first time or if you're sort of new and you have a lot of questions on what the hell this platform is all about, this is the episode for you. We're going to try and keep it simple. This is going to be for, just the very, very beginners. So we're trying not to get too complicated, but we will go through like a whole draft and I'll give you an idea on how strategy looks nowadays in the fantasy football platform. Anyway, so you're going to start, if you're on your laptop, you're going to start with a screen like this. Miles will also be from his phone. So his first question is where to go, because you'll start at the pick'em screen, right? So where to go is you want to go to drafts on the top of the screen. And then you get a big long list of sports you can enter. You're going to want to click NFL, because why would you want to gamble on anything else?
I want to bet on women's golf, personally. Just so I have an excuse to watch.
Not my area of expertise. So you'll get to a screen that's all featured. Those are all tournaments. We're not going to do a tournament today. We're going to do a single league, $3, 12-team best ball draft. Underdog will take a small rake out of that. I think it's 11% on the out of the total pot to pay for credit card fees and whatever. And the first through third place gets paid out. Third place gets their money back, and first place gets somewhere around $24 or something like that.
We're not going to do it today because of the sake of time for the podcast, but if you are someone that gets nervous about draft time like I sometimes do, I already noticed that they have like regular speed drafts as well as slow drafts. So honestly, if I were doing this by myself, there'd be a high likelihood that I'd be doing a slow draft, just because I like to have enough time to like Google and make sure I'm not making a real dumb choice, like drafting somebody who doesn't play on the team anymore or like was injured last week.
Yep. So you can do a 12-person, $32 slow draft where you get 8 hours per pick. So these can take weeks.
That's way too long. Wait a second. Is there not like a happy middle ground? Because you do it, there's like a minute, and then the next option is 8 hours.
30 seconds for a regular
Can I get like 3.5 minutes? I feel like 3.5 minutes is to do a confirmation search on any guy. Like,
no.
Unless it's somebody with like a really complicated name, then maybe like 4.5 minutes.
It takes a lot of patience, and how they get you is that you just enter like 14 slow best ball drafts at the same time. So every time you open your phone, you can pick something. And every time you wake up, you can make 3 picks.
Oh, good. Because my screen time isn't already embarrassing enough.
Exactly. So for today, we're going to start with the 30-second per pick draft. If it's your first time, it might be a little bit daunting, but you just got to go with the flow, and we'll kind of show you how to do that here. So you're going to go straight to enter. So $3, 12-person enter draft. You also have these options, which are totally viable too. But the most common, I think, is the 12-person draft. So we are going to go ahead and spend Miles' money right now.
How many of these are you in at this point?
I have done about 500 this offseason. A little bit less than 500, cool. I think.
So $3 a pop, though. I mean, that adds up.
Yeah, for sure. Don't do the math. Anyways, especially if Natalie's watching. So once you enter a draft, once it's full, the draft starts.
Will it randomly select the draft position?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The algorithm just allegedly randomly selects a draft position. There's no way around it. It's totally random. Even though last year I drafted from the first overall position a lot more frequently, this year I'm just not drafting from it whatsoever. I'm just not lucky.
With the first round draft in basically any league, is there anyone you're taking over Christian McCaffrey?
Nope.
Yeah.
Some smart people who have talked into a microphone who I respect will say take CeeDee Lamb over Christian McCaffrey. But if you're doing as many drafts as I am, you want to have a somewhat diverse portfolio. So if Christian McCaffrey goes down with an ACL, or CeeDee Lamb goes down with an ACL, or Tyreek Hill has a season-ending injury, I want to have enough of all three of those, because I think they pretty much all have an equal amount of chance to kind of win a fantasy football championship for you.
And with your last week's strategy, or the last one that we did together, I know you went heavy with the wide receivers early. You took one very solid running back, and then you basically waited until like round 8 or 9, I think it was, until you really started looking elsewhere.
So what we did was a hero RB strategy. So something you do have to know about these drafts is it's 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 3 wide receiver.
That play every week that you're getting
That
points
play
for.
every week, and then 1 flex, which cannot be a tight end or a quarterback, and
a tight end.
Yeah. So no defense, no kicker, which is awesome because you don't have to deal with that. And the way the best ball format works is whichever player scores the highest score on your team automatically gets that starting position. So you don't have to worry about setting your lineup. You don't have to worry about dropping and adding players because you can't do that. Once you get that team, that's your team for the whole year. So that's why you can do 500. You can do infinite amount of drafts because once you draft, you're done.
It really avoids that Thursday afternoon sweat that you get in regular fantasy football where you're deciding between 2 players.
Yes.
Or you're like waiting on an injury announcement and they're being really coy about it. Like, it's like, what the hell does questionable mean? Honestly, like, why is that even an option? Just tell me if they're playing.
Yeah, it makes fantasy football way more enjoyable because you have stake in certain guys.
Sure.
So even if you don't have the guy in your dynasty league or in your 2 or 3 home leagues that you're in, you didn't get Xavier Worthy, you can draft 500 times and you'll get Xavier Worthy a ton in best ball draft. So it allows you to get your guys, even though you don't maybe have access to them, you don't get a chance, you don't luck into them.
And if somebody has like an unexpected blow up week, like I'm thinking from last year, I think I read a stat where Achan, that week that he had the ridiculous blow up where he was like his first week that he just got tons and tons of points for fantasy football. And there is a disgusting amount of people that had him on their bench because, I mean, how are you supposed to know that's going to happen? And if it does, you get credit.
And honestly, the sit start thing, as a fantasy football player, that's what I'm worst at. Yeah. We'll never do a sit start segment on this channel because
we're gonna do that as the punishment when he comes in last in fantasy football season this year. Is he's gonna have to do a tutorial, an 8-hour tutorial during a slow draft on fantasy sports.
I'm so bad at it. I'm not a sit starter, but you don't have to worry about that. It's an 18 team roster, so you get pretty deep here. Which helps you in your regular leagues. I think this is really good practice, really good training, and a pretty low barrier entry. It's $3 for your minimum. So how it worked, we didn't go over the deposit and everything. You set up an account, you make a deposit. The minimum deposit is $50, I believe.
I just did this. So you have 3 options for a bonus. Basically, you can deposit $250 and you get a $125 bonus. You can deposit $100 and you'll get a $50 bonus, or you can deposit $50 and you will get a $25 bonus. And Jamie just happened to catch me at a really good time because I just happened to sell stickers after my comedy shows. And some very, very generous woman bought one of these for $100 like 4 days ago. And then 2 days ago, he's like, hey, if you spend $100, you get 50 bonus. And I'm a sucker for a $50 bonus. So here we are.
Hopefully we can help you win these so that investment will eventually pay off. You know what's not paying off right now?
This draft.
Anybody joining this draft on a Thursday afternoon at 7:45.
If you happen to be already live tuning into this podcast that is not live, you should definitely join this draft right now. Where's that guy that drafted old quarterbacks? Let's message him and see if we can get him back on.
Night Stoker?
Yeah, let's get Night Stoker hooked up in this.
This is the time. We're going to make a lot of references to a podcast that I think just released today as we're recording on Thursday.
Think of this as a part 2, really. If anything, you should be listening to this as a part 2.
Maybe check on your phone to make sure we don't have to refresh or anything, because this is an abnormal amount of time it's taking to get at least a few people.
All right. So now that I'm actually actively in one, I'm assuming there's going to be a place.
So you're on your phone. So you're going to go to active. This is a good practice that we're doing right here.
We go.
So you go to active.
2 of 12 is what's showing filled up right now.
Yeah. So I would personally join, but I think it's against the rules.
Yeah.
I think it's like literally like in the rules where it's like collusion if you're both like drafting.
So if we're gonna collude, we should definitely not do it live on a podcast.
Exactly.
We'll save that one.
Yeah. We'll save that one for not that you would ever really. That's I think more serious for like the big best ball tournaments, because people are trying to. So the difference between these and the best ball tournaments, There's a lot of differences, but for the single leagues, you just score a certain number of points total throughout the 17 weeks, and that's your team score. Where in the tournaments, there's like elimination rounds, basically. There's a playoff system where you draft in one league, but you play against everybody who enters the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So for those who are trying to be top 1%, of top 1%, of top 1% and win like $1 million.
Right. It's going to multiply, but the odds of it go so far much down. But it's like trying to hit like a 16 or 17 game parlay on the weekend. Yeah.
So there's a lot of meta. There's a lot of like inside baseball style of drafting when it comes to those tournaments. So that's why I think for beginners and for me personally, I way prefer drafting on these 12 teams and get that kind of consistent payback because I don't have a big enough bankroll to max out my slots in a $25 buy-in tournament. I just don't have, like, I can't.
Well, and with, we do these sports gambling segments on this channel a lot during the season. I'm sure those will be coming back more and more this season as football starts up again. But we talk a lot about the idea that it's just more fun if you're making these small bets that when you win, it feels good, but you're not doing anything that is going to like really hurt you financially.
Oh, you're talking about financial responsibility?
Yeah, I guess I really am not the person for this segment. Natalie, you're needed.
We also ironically recommended that you should pay with a credit card in this account because you get the rewards back and there's no penalty. There's no extra fee for paying with a credit card on Underdog Fantasy, which is awesome, by the way. That's a pretty sweet move. If you're
listening, sign up for a credit card and max it out.
Max it out.
Sports.
Yeah. Get your first credit card, 0 fees for the first 12 months. It's free money, baby.
Free, dude. Don't literally a license to print money, and just by hit subscribe right here, you're gonna get a $1 bonus probably. I don't know how that works, but it probably happens.
You might not be that good at fantasy football, so don't do that. But if you follow us, you will.
Yeah, dude. Hey, we are still sitting at 2 of 12 people, dude. You picked a really bad draft.
Yeah,
good timing.
I'm almost thinking of like us just what else do we have to set up? So there is a queue you can set up, which I highly recommend, especially if you like have shoddy Wi-Fi or are driving through an area that has poor.
Let's also recommend drafting and driving now that
we're definitely draft and drive. I'm saying that because I was driving the passenger seat of my mom's car in Michigan, and there's a lot of dead spots in Hillsdale.
Yeah, a lot of dead things in general in Michigan, I hear.
Yeah, and I was putting everybody in my queue, and I would lose cellular service. And then,
so I'm assuming by clicking the star, that's going to be what adds the player to the queue.
So it'll be right next to the player on the star. So it'll give you an ADP and a projection. I wouldn't really pay too much close attention to the projection because you have your own projections. Anyways, ADP stands for average draft position, which you probably already know if you're doing fantasy football for a while in standard redraft leagues or dynasty. It's a value, and really, if you're new to it, you only have 30 seconds to pick, so you really want to ride that ADP value, and it's the most accurate. Mm-hmm. It's the year after year, it's the most accurate value for each player. So when you go to sleep or you go to ESPN or God forbid you go to NFL fantasy football app, you will be able to absolutely slaughter those ADPs because they're way off to where they actually should be.
A lot of this comes down to essentially beating the ADP. Obviously it really comes down to what the players on the field do and who you have on your team. But ultimately, to get the strongest team possible, you're trying to get as much value out of each draft as possible, meaning that really in the later rounds is where you're going to have the opportunity to pick somebody up who may have fallen through the cracks, or looking at somebody like a rookie or somebody that maybe has switched to a different team where he's going to have more opportunities that might be being undervalued by certain people. And if you have the foresight to see that coming ahead of time, you're going to pay off big dividends on this.
Yep. So it's basically player takes, players you think are, so basically ADP is price tag. It's what you're paying. When you pay Christian McCaffrey, you pay the biggest price tag, which is 101. Unless you're lucky and he falls to 102, which I'm taking.
If we take CD Lamb, yeah,
I'm taking him at 101 right now, and I'm not going to stop because he won fantasy football last year, and he could do it again this year. Basically, just he has to stay healthy.
Wasn't it like 80% of teams that had him on his team were in the finals of their fantasy league or something crazy like that?
I don't know if the numbers were that extreme.
It was a huge no. I don't remember what it was, but I remember we talked about it at one point. it was a ridiculous percentage of players that just having him on your team more or less rode you into the finals of your championship.
And that's why, and CD Lamb had a big correlation too, especially if you had him paired with Dak, which people forget about. Because regular season CD and Dak Prescott are very different from
postseason.
Yeah,
which
postseason.
By the way, fantasy sports postseason doesn't much matter. I mean, they're not playing by that point in terms of our scoring system. Hey, we're up to a third player though. By the way.
So the other really thing that could happen is that player can leave and it'll go back to 10 people. But hopefully that means the last draft just ended. Sometimes we get like bursts of people coming in where they'll do like 2 or 3 drafts back to back to back, or they'll do drafts at the same time.
Yeah, they're on hour 7 of their slow draft right now. So another 45 minutes, an hour tops, we'll be good to go.
No, it's 8 hours per pick. Yeah. It's not 8 hours per like round.
That's
it's
terrible.
Like, so if you have a slow guy who's like not paying attention or like went on vacation and doesn't have cell service or is in illegal like territory, they won't be able to draft.
Yeah.
So you just sit through 8 hours every single round.
I trolled the Dynasty League that you brought me into because my team is so terrible that I somehow ended up with the number 1 draft pick this year. And
your team's not that bad for the record.
It's not that bad, but
it's really not that bad.
We do have 24 hours to pick, and I was obviously taking Caleb Williams, but I did joke that I was going to wait down to the wire just because all of these guys were so antsy to get going. Everyone was like, "Come on, let's go!" And I was like, it would be really funny if I just make them wait till Sunday.
Everyone would have been really pissed.
They would have hated me so much.
12-team Superflex Dynasty League. It was slow picks. So it was like, I think we had like 6 hours to pick or whatever, and it paused at night, pretty similar to Underdog. And we finished it in like 3 days.
Yeah, it was really fast.
Like a 4-round, I think it was 4-round or 5-round. 4-round draft. Yeah.
It wasn't too bad, but there was definitely some holdouts, like where you could tell people just, weren't paying attention or forgot that they had to draft, or maybe they have jobs.
In my other league, it took us like 2 weeks.
Oh, so that really is insanely fast.
Yeah. It was really, really fast. But it was also having to do with the commissioner, which is me, having everyone's phone number and also being obsessed with it and texting.
Oh, I remember. I was literally canoeing during the second day of the draft.
Like, you're up, bitch.
I was like, you were texting me, and I'm like, hey, man, these picks are probably going to get real slow because I'm going out in the middle of a lake right now.
Us. And even so, I was like texting him, like, you're up. Yeah. And Natalie's like, what? Like, she saw the message. And she's like, why are you texting me? You know he's canoeing. I'm like, yeah. But when he gets done with canoeing, he'll have a text on his phone.
Well, yeah. And I mean, I had my phone with me. So apparently, it'd be like grab another beer, look at the phone and be like, hold on, I got to pick up a player real quick. Surprisingly good cell phone reception in Texas Lakes, actually. We've got a good cell phone tower system out here.
Yeah.
Not like Michigan, I hear.
We even made some trades during that draft, you and I.
Yeah. There was a bunch of trades happening. I will say, joining this Dynasty League, I have already, by the way, season hasn't even started yet, folks, if you haven't noticed, but I've had like quadruple, not even more than that, like 10 times the amount of trade offers than I've had in all of my other leagues combined.
Oh, yeah.
And
well, you're fresh blood.
No, and they're all trying to take advantage.
Your
of
blood,
100%, dude. They're like, let's see how much of a bitch this new guy is. So, like, my instant, like, honestly, I've had some that were so insulting that my usual go-to is just to send the most insulting counter that I can possibly find on your team. So yeah, if you're trying to send me like a 2nd round draft pick from like 2027, I'm probably coming after your starting quarterback and your starting wide receiver.
I love how you are like, we're seeing you discover all the petty dynasty fantasy, like you're going through all of like the petty dynasty fantasy football memes.
We need to
all the stages.
We need to come back to this in like 3 to 5 years when I've got like that gritty like veteran aspect going where I'm making fun of the new guy.
Has anybody sent you an offer and then been like, look at this trade calculator, it really makes sense?
Yeah, somebody tried to convince me to do that, and then I countered with somebody. Who is like the wide receiver that was the 2nd pick in the draft this year?
What do you mean?
Caleb Williams went first, and then 2nd.
Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison
Jr. Somebody told me they're like, hey, I want your number 1 draft pick, and I basically implied that I was not going to take Caleb Williams, and I think I actually offended them. Like they were just like so mad about it.
Was it Brian?
It was. I just replied with gifs of Marvis Harrison Jr. the whole time making ridiculous sketches.
That's so funny, dude.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm pretty sure I pissed off at least like 3 or 4 people in the league at this point, but I don't mind. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm good with it.
That is good because in my other league, I only know like one of the guys. It's Spencer O'Neill. He's the one who got me in.
Yeah.
Oh, and Michael's McCarley's, I guess, still in it. Even though we don't see him too often on the group chats. Anyways, I didn't know anybody in the league, so I only knew Spencer. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be the troll. And I was just like acted like a total doofus, acted like a total idiot. And in the meantime, made some pretty aggressive trades because they thought I was an idiot.
Oh, nice.
And then, so I'm back-to-back champion. I'm back-to-back runner-up, which really is a kick in the nuts.
Yeah, it's both cool and kind of shitty.
And one of them was DeMar Hamlin's fault because Josh Allen was going to win me a championship.
God forbid somebody die on the field.
They should have finished the game. They should have. Who said that? Stephen A? I can't remember. No, I don't think it was Stephen A. Someone tweeted like, "Oh, was it Colin Cowherd or was it?"
Honestly, I don't even pay attention to the real talking heads of football. If I'm being honest, I usually just listen to our idiots make hot takes about the situation. It was one of those
like troll, like famous people who was just like a perpetual troll, and they were like, "Finish the fucking game," basically.
Yeah, dude. It's just a little death, no big deal.
Yeah,
his heart started up again.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, I have like $250 riding on this. Let's get Josh Allen back out there.
250. I love that.
But to be fair to me, they were like, do you guys want to just reset and do week 18? And I was like, no, I concede because I'm a good person.
Weirdly enough, my like current tab that was up here.
So you're on picks. You're on pick 'em. So you gotta go to draft.
There yeah, it is the wrong button.
Yep, that is definitely something that is a navigation thing that's a little bit tricky on the app. I'm not a pick'em guy. You know, as a pick'em guy is Paxton. We should have Paxton's pick'ems.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I love alliteration. So
me too. Just for the sake of the segment. Hey, and guess what? 7. We'll definitely put in, because we're having a good conversation here, but we're definitely going to put in the comments section the timestamp on when we actually start this.
You think? Because right now we're averaging 4 minutes per player joining this thing. We're at 20 minutes in, and we're at 5 of 12 at the moment. But hey, no one's dropped that I can see. So
we did have one drop. We went down to 7 and then went down to 8 for 2 or 3 minutes.
It's cool though. I'm actually kind of excited because I'm getting to see. This is not only my first best ball draft, but it's also my first time seeing behind the scenes at StreamYard. It feels like I'm getting to watch the wizard behind the curtain. He's not really that talented. There's just really easy to use features on StreamYard.
I love that you thought that I was talented.
Dude, I thought this whole time you're like coding it in HTML live. Well, it's like that's why you're so distracted. But no, you
pressing
just click the
preset buttons.
Yeah. Maybe you got like outlines. You can pop up your socials. It looks so easy.
Yeah, it is. It's really easy. It's expensive though. So
yeah, I looked at that. I was like, oh man, yeah, you are invested in this channel. Please subscribe. He needs the sponsorship money.
I can't wait. So we are going to be able to sell merchandise on our channel pretty soon here.
Poncho Watch is coming back, dude.
Poncho Watch. I have so many t-shirt ideas. Yeah, I literally live my whole life just thinking of sweet t-shirts.
Yeah.
So that we'll probably make more money off of that.
He doesn't really have a fully functioning brain. It's just an Etsy store up there. That's all it is.
Yeah, it is glorified Etsy store. And hey, we're halfway there, baby.
We got to 6. Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. We should all just like, if we agree right now, can we all just take 2 teams each? I'll put another 3 in if they'll let me.
Yeah, I wish you can. If you try that, what happens is it signs you up for the next draft. So you'd be 1 of 12.
Tricky.
So I mean, usually this time of year, these drafts fill up immediately. But for whatever reason, this one is taking a while. But you know what I think the good news about that is I think our beers have fully chilled.
They have probably fully chilled.
So let's go ahead and take a bathroom break because we're 24 minutes in and we haven't started yet.
Yeah, we'll take a quick pause for the cause, and we'll be back when we have at least 9-10 players, I think.
Okay, and we're finally filling up here. So this will be our first pro tip for this draft. Whenever you open a draft, which we forgot to do here, go through and put those players in your queue. Sometimes I'll go into like the 3rd or 4th round because I've done a million of them, so I can literally go through. But we'll keep it simple here. So whichever players in your queue will automatically be drafted if you do timeout.
So so the first step on this is going to literally starting at number 1, Christian McCaffrey. You're just probably going to go through like the first 20 to 25 players without even looking at their name. It's like whatever it says, that's what you're taking.
So you can do this based on your own player takes. Here are mine. and I'm good at this sort of thing. So I like to really diversify. Like I said, ADP value in the first round is so valuable. And what I learned last year is let your player takes guide you later on in your drafts. Early in the first round in particular, don't fade too many people, because it just takes one injury from Nick Chubb or Cooper
Not
Kupp.
this year. Did you see those one-legged squats
I
he was
have,
doing?
and we've talked a lot about it on this podcast. Anyways, get me back on track. Thank you. I will go to Tyreek Hill. I'll skip Jamar Chase.
Why are we skipping Jamar Chase?
He outside of his rookie year, he's never really done it. In my opinion, I think he's a big shiny toy whistle.
So if Justin Jefferson or Amon St. Brown or any of these guys under him are on the board, you're skipping them.
So here's what I do, because I don't want to fade him too much. I'll go Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then I'll circle back.
I just
Jamar
now
Chase.
realized it goes in the order in which you click them.
Yep.
I did not catch that on the first try.
And on your phone, you can unclick them, and on your phone, you can adjust them.
Slide.
So if you have a guy like Jamar Chase, you can slide him up to the. I'm not gonna dare do it with.
But you could.
But I could if I wanted to.
Nice.
You could also just click onto your queue on your phone, and it'll give you your full list of your queue in order on this screen. It shows you something a little bit different. Okay, so that's what I do. I take Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Justin Jefferson, he's going to have a veteran throwing the football for, I think, a lot of the percentage of the throws this year, and Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold isn't great, but you know who is great? Generational talent? Justin Jefferson. Yeah. Okay, we saw him with horrendous, after he came back from his hamstring injury, we saw him with horrendous quarterback play, including the 0-3 game against the Raiders. And we're starting here, including the 0-3 game. Justin Jefferson was wide receiver 3. So even if he has bad quarterback play this year, you're literally buying him at his floor.
Yeah. 100%.
You're buying Justin Jefferson. Worst case scenario, obviously barring injury, because injury can just capsize any of these guys, which is why you need to diversify. But I think Justin Jefferson is one of the best picks in the first round, outside of Christian McCaffrey. You can get Christian McCaffrey in the second pick if he falls the second pick.
But he's not going to fall the third, almost never.
I've seen it.
Unless you're playing against Night Stoker.
I've seen him. No, because Night Stoker will take him.
He'll take him over a quarterback?
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
Yeah.
I'll believe
he took Brees Hall. He always took Brees Hall in our draft, remember?
You're right. I was thinking for some reason he took first 5 picks for all quarterbacks. He usually goes second through 6th or whatever.
He usually goes running back, quarterback, and then it's usually running backs and tight ends after that. He mixes it up after the 4th quarterback usually, but that's usually his pattern of how he does things. And we're live.
On the queue real quick, I do want to ask, the queue will not automatically draft that person. It will only do that if you run out of time.
If you time out.
Yeah. Okay. If you decided, say you're drafting and your next person on your queue is Jamar Chase, but you see somebody that you're like, no, I would rather have them. You can still click them ahead.
And there is an autopilot button where you click on autopilot, and it will snap pick whatever is highest in your queue. If you time out and you don't have anybody in your queue, it'll give you the highest ADP player available. Okay. Which sounds great. Sometimes it works out. A lot of times it doesn't.
Yeah.
Especially later in drafts, because if you time out, usually it's one of those players that has bad news about them, like somebody who might get suspended pretty quick.
Looks like we're going to take Amon-Ra St. Brown as our first pick.
So I'll go ahead and let you take over on your phone here, and I'm going to pull up the draft board, because I think we've kind of gone over everything. But yep, we are probably going to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown here from the Lions. He had a great game with hand, foot, and mouth disease last year.
Boom.
Imagine how great he can have a game.
Do I have to hit something? Oh, there it is. I was like, I clicked on him, but you have to actually hit the draft button.
There's a couple. You can also slide on your phone. You can slide left to right, like you're swiping right on a hot chick, except it's a hot dude. and then you hit go. That's a quick way to do it, but you can do it the long way by hitting the big thing and then hitting go draft or whatever.
So obviously I don't think we're going to get around to him, but I mean, I'm looking at players that I definitely want on my team, and I would want to go ahead and be putting them into my queue. I mean, Puka Nacua is going to draft here very shortly. I'm sure of it. He's definitely
Puka Nacua will never,
he's not going second
round. It would be
round.
awesome if it made it back around to you.
Sure.
But very likely will not go back around to you.
Yep.
And there is some skill to this StreamYard thing. Just the way I did that very quickly and seamlessly, you missed it. But it looked really bad for just 1 second, and then it looked a lot better. So give me a little bit of credit here, pal.
Yeah, dude, it's definitely not magic. It's Jamie's hard work at clicking these buttons correctly.
Bingo.
He has the same skill as a talented the Madden player essentially.
Well, I mean,
Click the
that's
buttons correctly.
that's an admirable feat, actually. I don't know why you disparage Madden players.
Yeah, well, it's because NCAA is out again, so Madden's gonna go away again.
I mean, I've seen gameplay on NCAA, and I get it's glitchy, whatever. I want it. I'm like, I have to like when I go to bed at night, I'm like, don't buy a PlayStation 5. Don't buy a PlayStation 5.
See, I'm gonna start texting you every night. Just buy a PlayStation 5, and that way you wake up, and I'll remember to
Just send
draft,
me
and you'll remember to go to Best Buy.
Send me the Amazon link, and
Yeah.
I will just get drunk enough one night
Bro,
to just
there's
click
so
it.
many good free games that come out. I'm gonna get distracted and start talking about First Descendant. But
That's fine.
First Descendant just dropped this week, and I have been addicted to it like crazy. Like I'll get home late from like an open mic, and then next thing I know, it's 4:30 in the morning, and I was like, oh, I should probably go to bed. Natalie, don't listen to this part. It's fine.
Yeah. So tell me what you're thinking here, Miles. We're 3 picks away.
3 picks away. Top of the list is Drake. Never mind. 2 picks away. Chris Olave and Nico Collins. I know you were a big Nico Collins guy.
Nope, I'm not.
Did you not just draft him over Debo Samuel 2 days ago when we talked about it?
Nope, I drafted Tank Dell.
Maybe that's
I drafted Ayuk over Debo. I drafted Tank Dell over Stephon Diggs on stream.
So what I'm seeing is if it falls to me, I would take Chris Olave.
Chris
I don't
Olave?
think it's going to, but
Okay.
Debo Samuel would be my next choice. And while he hurt me a lot last year, Devontae Adams would still be on my board.
So I don't like Chris Olave. If you like
He's
Nico,
gone, so that takes care of that.
I don't like him. If I were picking, I would take Brandon Ayuk, but whatever
Really?
you just said, you can just draft whatever you want. It's
So
your $3.
I like Debo over Brandon, but you have 10 seconds to talk me out of it.
I'm not going to
No, do it. 10 seconds.
10 seconds.
7 seconds.
Debo, he's getting old. Brandon Ayuk, he's going to play all 14 games. He's not going to miss any time due to the contract dispute, and you don't have anybody in your queue, so that's going to be an issue if you don't get this pick off. So
I didn't get. I was trying to get Brandon Ayuk, but I did not see the draft button.
so you auto. So this is why you do. This is why
we need to start queuing up.
This is why you do the queue.
Hopefully that won't hurt me too bad.
You got Nico Collins.
Tell me why that sucks.
He's fine. A lot of really smart people like Nico Collins. I'm really on fade Nico Collins island, honestly. He's a prototypical wide receiver. He's very, very talented. He looks the type. My take on, and there's a lot of really good metrics and really good stats on yards per route run for Nico Collins in his favor. One thing I'd like to point out, he's never had a full season without injury. People say that he's less injury prone than Tank Dell, and that's why you should take Nico Collins over Tank Dell. I disagree. I think they both got injured last year. Tank Dell didn't get injured much in college. He was pretty healthy. So I don't think you could say that. When they were both on the field and healthy at the same time, Tank Dell scored more fantasy points.
Gotcha. If you can, and I don't know if this is an option, can you refresh this so it'll show my queue? Because I'm queuing up on the phone and I'm noticing it's not there. And I think the easiest way to do this.
So the audience can't see, just so you know. The audience is seeing this.
Oh, okay. Well, I think easier if you can. I can just hold it like this so you can see what I've
just
got.
Just tell me who you got. Just talk to me.
So right now at the top of my queue, Achan is at the top, then Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, Michael Pittman Jr., and Tank Dell.
I'm a big Pittman guy. We've drafted him twice already out of like 4 live drafts that we've done. So there is that.
Stephon Diggs is questionable. I know that he's new system, but he's got a stud young quarterback, and I think he's still got something.
He was so good early on in the season, horrendous late in the season. Stephon Diggs, I would not draft him.
I don't think it's going to come around to me anyway, to be fair.
So you are up.
I am up, and Stephon Diggs is literally, so it's between Stephon Diggs and Michael Pittman Jr. 10 seconds, talk me into, or Tank Dell. Talk me into one of those 3.
Don't take Tank Dell. I would take Michael Pittman. He's a great player on a great team. He caught for over 1,100 yards, 4 touchdowns last season with Gardner Minshew throwing in the ball primarily. Anthony Richardson, a lot of people say he might not be as consistent as Gardner Minshew. I say he might be better, and I would dare to say he will be better than Gardner Minshew. He might take away a few touchdowns, but he'll also have a lot of scoring opportunities for Michael Pittman. So that's why I love him.
Fair enough.
And you trusted me. How's your team? So you can also check on your app if you hit board, it'll give you the board. But more importantly, if you click on your own character on the top of the screen, that square on the top of your screen where the board is.
Yep. Oh, that's not me.
Yep. You can check other people's teams, but you can check your own team. So click on your own person. It'll pop up your team.
Right there, which I'm looking at 3 wide receivers. Not a terrible way to start a draft.
Also important to mention, that's a great way to check your your bye weeks, which in my opinion is important in best ball, especially in this format, because you can't like drop a guy when he has a bye week and pick somebody else up.
When I click that, I'm not seeing bye week popping up automatically. At least on the phone app.
Oh, so this is different on Android.
Might be worth clicking on.
So click on Amon-Ra St. Brown.
And there should be a drop down. That is not an option.
Oh wow.
Not at least on that point. Now on the board, if we go to the board, we can go over here and I can click on. Nope, still can't do that.
It'll give you
this is not a clickable option.
No, it doesn't. So iOS, it has that.
So we need to be making sure we don't double draft on that.
So draft on an Apple, I guess, is what we just found out.
Yeah, I do not have anybody in my queue right now. Looking at the top of the board, I've got 3 wide receivers and then Pacheco and then Jalen Hurts. I have 3 wide receivers so far.
Yep.
It feels early to go QB, but QBs do score a lot of points. But as we talked about last week, they seem to be a more consistent position and where their range is. So looking at the top of this, I would go with, I want to go Tank Dell, but it's 4 wide receivers start.
I don't mind it.
You don't mind it?
I would go 4 wide receiver to start. So Tank Dell, George Pickens, Amari Cooper, if any of those guys fall to you.
You would go with it?
Definitely. How far away are we?
We are 2 picks. So I'm going to get one of these 3 guys.
Get one of them.
Would you go in Dell, Pickens, Cooper? Is that the order you would take them?
Yep, take them. They're all the same to me, so I let ADP determine it. I let ADP, because if you do enough of them, if you do, a good volume of them, 20 of them, get your best ADP guy, because the ADP, if all guys are equal, take the highest ADP guy, because hey
baby, you're all good.
Because the
hold on, I think Shadow might have an opinion on this fantasy draft right here. We are up, and George Pickens is at the top.
Take George
over T. Higgins or Christian Kirk.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I just hate. I don't know why, but I truly hate drafting Pittsburgh Steelers, and I don't even have a favorite team. So it's not like I hate the Steelers, but the Steelers always just rub me the wrong way fantasy point wise.
So that's fair. What you got to know about the Steelers this year is they have a new offensive coordinator. Don't worry about who it is. Don't even look that up.
Okay.
But they do have a new offensive coordinator. It will be better.
Okay.
George Pickens will be on the field like 100% of the time, and they have a new quarterback there. It's going to be a massive upgrade with Russell Wilson. The also advantage to drafting George Pickens is you can stack him with Russell Wilson on the same team.
Yeah.
Because like we talked about last time, if one of them works out, that means the other one's going to work out.
And Russell Williams is kind of become he has become kind of a Russell Wilson has become kind of a joke. At least a punchline for a lot of football jokes, but he's still a very quality quarterback. He scores a lot of points.
Yeah. Bingo.
On that note, again, 4 picks deep. I'm all wide receivers at this point.
Yep, that's fine.
Need to start though, at least considering other positions, I think, at some point.
So think about it. Wide receiver, not a consistent position, unless you get like one of the top guys. So you have to think about that, and you have to compare it to like you have to typically start 4 of them in a week.
Sure. Because
with
of the
flex. And so
realistically, I've only barely filled the roster requirement at this point. And again, quarterbacks, I find in general, again, unless you have like an absolute stud with like a Josh Allen having a breakout season, or sometimes a Patrick Mahomes doing crazy shit, they mostly score in that 18 to 24 point range.
Yeah. So I do like some of the premium quarterbacks, and there's still some available. Like Lamar Jackson's still available.
Sure. Yeah,
okay?
see, he's at the top of the board now, so he's probably not going to be available for long, but there's 4 picks left.
Our top ADP we got right now is Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, Dalton Kincaid. I don't care for a lot of the premium tight ends.
I like Kincaid a lot, I'll be honest.
Okay. If you really want to draft him, you can.
I don't necessarily want to draft him this early, but I will say Kincaid, out of all of the premium tight ends, him and Laporta are by far my 2 favorites.
So here's my thing with that is I would draft Anthony Richardson over Kincaid. I mean, obviously, if Lamar Jackson falls to you here, we're just going to draft Lamar Jackson,
one
right?
More pick, yeah.
Lamar Jackson in the 5th round is crazy, and we got him.
We got Lamar Jackson.
We got him. Dalton Kincaid also fell to that spot.
Get it, boom.
All right, so Lamar Jackson. So our team right now is Amon-Ra St. Brown, Nico Collins, Michael Pittman, George Pickens, and Lamar Jackson. A start I really, really like.
Even with my flub there, where I
was about to say I would have liked Brandon Ayuk over Nico Collins, but
ultimately they're probably going to score very close to the same amount of points.
Yeah. The only thing with CJ Stroud is so expensive.
Yeah.
So if you're doing the stack game, I can get Brandon Ayuk, who I believe will be a San Francisco 49er.
Yep.
I think that's going to happen. He doesn't really have much leverage. He's already in camp. I think he's going to get extended anyway. They're just going to have to figure out how much they're going to pay him. But Brandon Ayuk, you can stack him with Brock Purdy because his ADP is so significantly lower. So CJ Stroud, you can get at 70.6 as we're recording, and these update daily. Brock Purdy, you can get at 111.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just such an easier stack. And honestly, I think Brock Purdy's going to score more fantasy points this year.
That makes a lot of sense to me. Yeah. So we're looking at coming up on our 6th round pick. We have no running backs, no tight ends, 1 QB, and 4 wide receivers.
Okay.
My gut says we should probably be looking at a premium running back if they're high enough up on the ADP board.
Yep.
But if there's not somebody in like that top 4 or 5 range, we should probably just let them pass till another round because we don't want to overpay for one.
Yep. So James Cook just went off the board, which is a big time bummer.
Yep. That was
Rashad White, not my cup of tea.
And Kenneth Walker III is the next, all the way down at like 10th at this point.
Hey, go green, go white.
I don't know what that means.
Michigan State Spartan.
Oh,
Kenneth Walker. If you can get Kenneth Walker as your RB1
we'll put him up there on the queue
in a semi. So the type of build we're doing right now, I would say would probably be considered like a 0 RB build. But when you can get Kenneth Walker at 69 ADP, which is a very nice ADP,
4 picks away, and he's in a good spot right here.
I like that. The only thing that's really going to hurt me when you click that button is Xavier Worthy potentially being there for you.
And would you take Xavier Worthy over?
Kenneth Walker just got drafted.
So that fixes that problem. Xavier Worthy, who we're looking at, top pick. We just saw that incredible clip with him like a week or so
Literally
ago.
The first training camp hype was Xavier Worthy. Which
I don't think I'm going to get him in 3, honestly, but maybe I'm wrong.
He'll fall in a lot of these drafts.
Honestly, though, the next names I'm picking, I don't see anybody on the top of this list that just makes me think like that's the obvious pick. Other than Xavier Worthy, do you see anybody at the top of the list right now that I'm missing that should be like, obviously this is the guy?
I'm not a premium tight end guy, so Pitts is off my radar.
Me in like every season.
Rashad White, not my thing this year. It's just historically not going to work with how inefficient he was last year.
DeAndre Hopkins in a best ball league, I could actually see as being a high value because he's so hot and cold points.
D-Hop, I was going to say, if we don't get it Worthy here, I'm either thinking Ladd or D-Hop.
See, and I don't know anything about Ladd McConkey other than he's Irish. And
ran a 4.33. So go ahead and take Mr. Xavier Worthy.
Xavier Worthy fell to me. Hell yeah, dude. I was not expecting that.
I've seen him fall to like 75. If you got a bad room that either doesn't know they're rookies or is fading Xavier Worthy because he's too fast for football, there's so many people who are like, look at all these wide receivers who ran the fastest 40s in the combine. And it's like a big long list of like busts.
Do they forget that he has Patrick Mahomes throwing to him? The guy will keep up.
Well, they also forget that none of those guys actually produced in college.
Right.
Xavier Worthy I said rookie on the podcast. He broke freshman wide receiver records at Texas.
Nice.
In Austin, which is where the comedy mothership is.
Yeah, that's true.
So think about that.
Yeah, that's if anything we know about football players is if they succeed in a comedy city, they're killing it.
So anyways, I'm a believer of Xavier Worthy. There's only one other guy who is on the same planet in terms of like the top, like the 4-2 guys. All the 4-2 guys, there's only one other guy who was like in the same planet as him in terms of college production, and he ended up being pretty good. I've watched every single target and run he got in college, and he had a couple bad drops, but Ewers missed him so much deep. And guess who's not going to miss him deep? Mahomes. He's just not. And he's just going to be able to run under every single pass he throws.
100%. So Kyle Pitts is slipping a lot through this draft. There, he just went off the board. Honestly, I was looking at CJ Stroud. He also just went earlier than he probably should had. I hate it, but I'm liking a lot of these wide receivers more than any other player on the board right now.
That's okay early, though, because there's so many.
Kyler Murray, post-injury, he had some promising looks late season last year.
So you already have Lamar Jackson. I wouldn't be looking at Kyler at the moment.
Okay.
I would definitely be looking at Alvin Kamara. He's going to be a half PPR machine. He's going to get so many dump offs in New Orleans, no matter who's playing quarterback for him. And Kendre Miller is already injured in camp. He's just going to be the bell cow there.
Gotcha.
In half PPR, you're just going to have to pick him, especially when we're doing a 0 RB build like we
now.
are.
if any of these three wide receivers, DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Watson, or Brian Thomas, were available before Alvin Kamara with our current situation, are any of them worth skipping another running back at this stage?
So 9 times out of 10, I'm taking Brian Thomas because I'm just a believer of him.
Okay.
But in this situation, when
I was
we
looking at
have,
D-Hop, honestly, I still think that he's got the hot cold factor.
well, the problem is he's going to have Will Levis throwing the football this year.
Yeah, that's problematic.
Xavier Worthy, George Pickens, Michael Pittman Jr., Nico Collins, Amon-Ra St. Brown as my wide receiver room, and I don't have any running backs yet. I want to get a guy who I think is going to increase in ADP, like Alvin Kamara.
Okay. Well, I've got my pick right now, so we're gonna go with Alvin Kamara then.
Yeah.
If I could fucking figure out how to draft.
Brian Thomas, you would be able to figure it out with Brian Thomas, but we're kind of going really deep into this 0 RB build, and you're gonna want some wide receiver.
Some consistency too.
And I'm a big believer in Brian Thomas, but admittedly, so he's a rookie. He could just suck.
Yeah,
he could just suck. And then you're just passing up on Alvin Kamara, who's got so much guaranteed, barring injury, so much guaranteed volume
just
this
touches,
year.
Yeah, for sure.
That it's just gonna be a good value pick in this sort of build that we're putting.
So
here.
I've got 10 picks going here, and names that are jumping out on my screen for what I'm thinking, and tell me what you're leaning towards. I still do not have a tight end. Jake Ferguson was really good for me last year, and I think he could be considered undervalued. So even though I'm 9 picks away and he's on the 5th on the ADP board, maybe he slips. The next name on the list is Jameson Williams. We both like him a lot for the Lions. And again, we just talking about hot cold factor. He's probably not going to be on the board every week, but when he is on the board, he's probably going to be an 80 or 90 yard touchdown.
The more camp news comes out of Jameson Williams, the more I'm just like, I think we're going to do a whole episode of like buy and sell camp hype.
Sure.
Like the hype we're getting out of camp before preseason starts. Are you buying it? Are you selling it? I'm buying the Jameson Williams camp hype because of the college production, the college film. Came off an ACL. Maybe it took him a couple of years. Had an unprecedented suspension coming out of his like rookie year or whatever. So there's a lot of reasons, and he just had to mature. Like let's be real. Let's be real. Like he was very immature. He's very young. He's very immature coming out of college.
Sure.
And I don't think he was doing the right shit. And he's getting older. He's like 23 now. Like he's getting older,
he's making good decisions.
And he's making good decisions.
He also
and I think
just
we're
went
seeing
off the board.
that.
I think
that's fine. Because I was
no, he's still there. I'm sorry. Somebody else went off the board. I missed it. So if you're looking at right now with my lineup, if I've got Jake Ferguson and Jameson Williams available, which I don't think I do now. I think he did actually just go off the board. Who would you pick between Ferguson and Williams?
Between Ferguson and Williams, I would take Raheem Mostert.
Hilarious.
He scrolled down a little bit. Raheem Mostert was the overall running back 3 last year.
3 picks, you think Mostert is better than all of these other guys?
Yeah, just for the type of build that we're building here is like a true 0 RB. You're going to have Alvin Kamara and Raheem Mostert who have RB1 ceilings this season.
Yeah.
And
I worry about the Miami Dolphins running back game, and it's not because it's not great. It's because they love running that committee. It's almost like
but if you look at the numbers, volume-wise, Mostert was the volume guy.
Okay.
When both were healthy, Mostert was the volume guy. There was a couple of games that Achane had a like 13 carries or whatever, but that was like only 1 week.
So we're letting Ferguson go. We don't believe in his tight end production this year, even though he got me a couple of touchdowns.
There's just so many late tight ends, and in the best ball format, if you have 3 halfway decent tight ends, is just as good as a premium and a non-premium tight end, in my opinion.
Fair enough.
And filling up your running back room. Now, if Raheem Mostert gets drafted, I'm like, yeah, go ahead, pull the trigger on Jake Ferguson, honestly.
I think that I don't think he's a premium tight end, but I think he is the top tier of like the mid pack tight ends.
Yeah. A lot of red zone targets, which is really what you're looking for out of tight end, is just touchdowns.
Sure.
So you're up. You got
Raheem Mostert is on the board, so I'm going to take your advice and go ahead and grab him.
Running back number 2 on the team. I love Jake Ferguson.
If he holds around for 10 more picks, sure, but that's not going to happen.
So where did we pick from?
6.
We picked from 6. If we had Breece Hall in the first round instead of who do we take? Amon-Ra. If we had Breece Hall in the first round instead of Amon-Ra, I'm like, hell yeah, go ahead and take Jake Ferguson there. Especially if we already had Alvin Kamara. And even if we didn't, I'd be like, take Ferguson there as your first tight end. If we had a more balanced build. But since we went so heavy wide receiver early on, we got to kind of spread out the wealth.
Yeah, that makes sense. On that note, looking down on this list of names that are jumping out to me, realistically, Jordan Love. Again, I know we got a good quarterback earlier, but Jordan Love had a lot of showed signs of a lot of potential towards the end of last season.
So looking at stacking so this is where I really like to look at stacking for late round, mid round quarterback. Amon-Ra St. Brown, we took him. I would probably try and wait on quarterback and try and get Goff and pair him with Lamar Jackson, and that just be your two quarterbacks.
That makes sense.
In a perfect world. So I wouldn't be looking at quarterback at the moment. We got Nico Collins.
I also see David Njoku, who I was really big on last year, but he did lose in the Pro Bowl to Puka Nacua in the catch receiving contest.
Was embarrassingly bad.
Yeah, and honestly, you can't trust a guy around barbecues. I don't know if I can be around that dude.
Let me bring to your attention this fact. Do you know who won the quarterback skills challenge 2 years ago?
Is it Mahomes?
It was Derek Carr.
So what you're saying is the Pro Bowl matters. You should really put a lot of your drafting weight into what happened in the Pro Bowl is what I'm hearing.
How far away are we?
5 picks.
I keep moving this down.
Yeah. Names that are jumping out of me at this point, honestly, it is getting low. I see Curtis Samuel. I'm not a fan, but he started showing potential last year.
If he makes it, and if you click on it, it'll give you that little red update thing. It'll tell you making noise at camp. I don't know what kind of noise that is. If he's just like screaming or like stomping really loudly.
He's keeping the other teammates up at night. They can't get any sleep.
Or if he's impressing in camp. Yeah. But he's impressing in camp.
Okay.
He's going to be the slot receiver.
So I'll put him on my queue for sure.
He's going to be the slot receiver for Josh Allen. And he's falling this far in ADP from 89 to 102. That's just a value I would highly recommend.
You can't. Yeah, that's too much. But I feel like he's about to go right now.
You're going to get sniped here.
I mean, I don't see anybody else on the board that they would take.
He's either sleeping on the wheel or he's looking for someone deeper down in ADP. Curtis Samuel.
Just took him.
Gosh dang it.
I don't see anybody. Caleb Williams jumps out at me, but it's way too much value for him at this point.
What's the update on Njoku? Did he get hurt that I didn't hear about?
Njoku, boom, right there. 1 hour ago.
He's got a little bit of a hamstring.
With an undisclosed injury.
So Njoku's injured. I don't like that. I have him queued up for you, though.
You got 4 seconds if you want somebody else.
You can go with Njoku.
Looks like we're going Njoku, dude.
Yeah.
Stay healthy, bro.
Hopefully it's a shoulder. If it's a hamstring and we find that out like tomorrow, that might be bad news.
Be a bad place.
That might be bad news. But
I hope he just hurt himself a little bit, like practicing the backflip catch for the season. Like when he does it this year, it's going to go a lot better.
Yeah, I sure hope so. So we are
12 picks away. We need to start looking ahead at this board. What do I have right now? My team is currently consisting of 1 QP, 1 running back, 5 wide receivers, and a tight end. So I'm feeling pretty stacked on the wide receiver department. But as you pointed out,
we need more.
4 of those 5 guys are going to be playing every year. So if we see some value pop up, every week, we should we see some value pop up, we should definitely take it.
Yeah. So Josh Palmer would be a guy I would really like on this build.
If he makes it 10 more picks, sure.
He might. I mean, he might. We're late in the draft. People might just overlook him. So make sure you put him in your queue. Just
He's number
don't
1
ignore
right
it.
now. I like. I'm looking at Brandon Cooks. He's got a pretty decent quarterback, as you already brought up, who's fighting for a contract year, trying to show out.
And we're looking at Goff at 125.
So we got a ways to go for him.
So we can wait on him.
Mm-hmm. We're probably not taking a second tight end, I'm guessing, or if we do, it'll be late.
I wouldn't. Hopefully that Njoku injury isn't too bad. Rashid Shaheed, I really like. We do need more wide receivers still.
Palmer's still on the board. He just went. Shaheed.
Singletary, I wouldn't draft even in this build. We're going 0 RB. It's just not going to be there's no ceiling, and we need a ceiling out of a running back that we're going to draft.
What about like Javonte Williams in Denver?
I don't know, dude.
No,
I don't want to draft him just because he's sort of expensive, and it's just going to be a bad offense.
Fair.
No matter which way you cut that onion, it's just going to be a bad offense. There's not going to be a lot of touchdowns scored there.
Fair enough.
So I'd rather just take a few swings at Javonte, or Jaleel McLaughlin.
How far does Caleb Williams fall before you decide to take him over like a Goff?
In this build, I would not, under any circumstances, draft Caleb Williams.
No, why?
Although I am coming around to him where he's going now. He was so expensive early on in the season. I just never drafted him. But now I'm looking at him like QB 13.
Yeah.
He's got Rome Odunze. He's got DJ Moore. He's got Keenan Allen.
He's got some new offensive line help, I believe.
Yeah, we'll see about that. But he's got targets to throw to. And that defense is going to be bad, which means he's going to be airing the ball out a lot.
A lot. That's kind of what I'm thinking is, again, if he were to fall, how far does he have to fall before we
he's got pass catchers. It would have to be pass golf. It would for this sort of build. If we had Keenan Allen, I'm like, we're drafting him right now.
But yeah, he's long gone.
Yeah.
Jacoby Myers is the guy that last year hot and cold, but when he had big games, he had really high producing games for his spot. I'm up now. So who are we looking at?
So I would probably say Goff right here. I know it's a reach.
That's a big reach, dude. Are you sure about that?
But he's probably not going to be there when we come back around.
I disagree, dude. I think he'll totally be there.
He's 125 or next pick.
1, 2, 3, 4 quarterbacks in front of him, dude.
Okay.
Who else would you go with?
Well, that's the thing is I don't like any of these guys. I would take a different quarterback.
All right, I hate it, but I'm going with it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, buddy.
I don't know about that one, but I'm going to lean to your expertise.
Just strategy wise, I mean, we took Amon-Ra 6th overall, which means Goff has to be, unless Hendon Hooker comes out and we just find out he's a superstar. If Amon-Ra pans out, that means Jared Goff has a 1,500 yard receiver under his.
It's really more so reinvesting in my first round pick than it is reinvesting in my, what round are we in currently? 9th?
And that's why that's a rare situation where ADP value, stacking in this situation, in my opinion, is probably a little bit more beneficial. Because if Jared Goff goes down with an injury, or Amon-Ra St. Brown goes down with an injury, has a bad season for whatever reason, we're not winning this. We're not getting top 3 in this anyway. And
only one QB is playing every week.
Right.
So there's a good chance that Lamar Jackson is going to.
And because of that pick, that affords us the ability to only go 2 quarterbacks with this build.
Right. We can now 100% forget Caleb Williams, even though I feel like if I'm talking fantasy in general, I think I'm higher up on Caleb Williams than you are, partially because I'm invested in him in our dynasty league and I need him to do well.
I see that. You did have the first.
I'm with you on Ezekiel Elliott. Now I see Nick Chubb coming up on this board.
I've been drafting him.
I want to be a chubby chaser again. That's what I foresee in my future. I'm going to go ahead and put him. I really like Nick Chubb. I don't know if he's going to get. Is that too early?
No.
Do you see anybody on that list above Nick Chubb that you like more?
No, you're getting him right at ADP.
Ezekiel Elliott is way overvalued if they're putting him over Chubb right now.
I agree, in my opinion. I think Chubb he might be ready. I think he's going to be ready for week 1. Whether he's off the pup week 1 or not, we'll see. They might ease him in, and I think they might do that. But with this build, I'm okay with it, right? Because what are we trying to get to week 6 here?
Yeah.
Because we already have 2 running backs we believe in.
Actually, on that note, will you look at my bye week situation and make sure?
Checked,
okay, we're good on that.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep, you're good. Nothing to be concerned about at the moment.
Perfect. It is. I will say, Underdog, maybe update your app so that you can see bye weeks. That seems like a big miss on this card.
Crazy.
It's not even that much. Like literally, you could just it says it here before you draft them.
Yeah.
Once they're drafted,
you have to
remember
you just
it.
Have That's
memory,
crazy.
And I don't have that. I don't remember why, but for some reason I don't have
that. So yeah, did Nick Chubb?
Chubb just got hit.
Austin, I mean, you might get your wish and taking Caleb Williams here.
Do I need 3 quarterbacks? I feel like that's
you don't. But if you believe in him that much, I'd go ahead and take him. It's good ADP value.
I feel like it would make more sense to take another running back right here, and I'm seeing Austin Eckler.
No, I don't like him. I mean, you could
talked
reach
about Charbonnet earlier this week.
He's fine, but you got Rico. You'll get Rico next round.
All right, so Caleb Williams it is. Maybe he'll be a stud and he'll pay off.
So here's another feature you can do on your app. If you click one of those, the QB button, it'll give you all the QBs. Now click it again. It'll go back to all of them. Now click RB, wide receiver, and tight end. And that'll eliminate all of the QBs on the feed. So we don't have to worry about it.
I still want to see him. I'm not going to lie. I just want to know.
I would highly recommend against it. But
not even knowing?
I wouldn't want to know because you're not drafting the 4th one.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And that way you just don't temptation.
Under any circumstance, you cannot draft a 4th quarterback unless you're Night Stoker and you really know what you're doing.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, they're gone. I mean, I guess I'll still see him go off the board this way traditionally.
Yeah, sure. I'll keep this one up for you.
No, I can see it on here. It's all good.
So yeah, we got Caleb Williams, Jared Goff, and Lamar Jackson as our quarterbacks. If you have 3 quarterbacks, don't draft anymore.
It's too many.
If
You're only playing one a week.
If you have 3 tight ends, don't draft anymore. If you have, in most situations, 6 running backs, don't draft anymore. If you have more than 8 wide receivers, maybe 9, usually not, don't draft anymore.
So I'm up in 8 picks, and Rico Dow, who we talked about a lot on our last episode. We're both big on this guy. I think he's getting great value.
I've heard a lot of people even today talk about that he's just like one good training camp report away from just erupting in ADP.
I just worry I'm not going to get him based on
you also have Charbonnet here. So if Charbonnet falls, I would take Rico Dowdle, but if Rico Dowdle gets taken before Charbonnet, I'd still be pleased with it.
Fair enough. Again, I was not a big Charbonnet guy. I think he got way overvalued last year, and most of his success came from other people's injuries more than his own workload.
I sort of agree with you. I think he was overhyped coming out of college, but I think he's slightly underhyped now.
Interesting.
I think it was a little bit of a overreaction because now he's down to 42, and he's going to be the true number 2.
And he's still with Seattle. What do you think about Seattle's running game this year?
I think it's going to be better. I think everything I'm hearing from people who know about like the scheme changes that's happening over there in Seattle with Pete Carroll gone.
Hey, it's looking better. I'm up in 3 picks, and he is 4 picks away. 2 picks. He's 4 picks away. So let's see if we don't get
Charbonnet off the board.
Charbonnet went.
If we can get Rico Dowdle with our 3rd running back, that would be sweet.
2 picks away. Let's see what happens. I feel like he's going to go, but I don't want to jinx myself here.
Josh Downs. This guy has...
He already has 2 running backs.
2 running backs, including Breece Hall.
So
he might take Rico. He's got 17 seconds left. I don't even know what we do if we don't get Rico here. I'm gonna be at a loss.
I mean, we're gonna have to look deeper in the right.
Yes, he took Marshawn Lloyd.
We got him, baby.
What an idiot!
We got him.
Yeah, stupid idiot.
Yes, dude. And now we have 10 more picks to figure out what else we need to do here.
No, we're good.
So let's see. We are currently looking at 3 QBs done. 3 running backs, could probably use one more.
2 more. Need 2 more.
5 running backs, could probably use another one as well.
We could use 3
wide
more.
Receivers. Only 1 tight end. I'm a little worried about that.
We got David Njoku. As long as that's not like a serious hamstring injury, I think we'll be fine, which it sounds like it's not a big deal.
If we see another tight end that's going to come up late in this draft that is almost definitely playing every game, are we still consider? Do we consider him at that point? Somebody that feels like the absolute starter for their team.
No. We can get 2 more tight ends. I think ideally we get I think ideally we get maybe 2 tight ends that we're comfortable with, but I don't know if those are really available. Oh, we got Noah Fant, Tyler Conklin coming up, who I really like. But David Njoku, I think, is a week 10 buy.
Mm-hmm.
He is. He's a week 10 buy.
So you want to avoid week 10.
So yeah, which is a bummer, because that kind of eliminates Noah Fant. So Tyler Conklin is going to be an option for us, but we still need to do some work in this running back room.
So running backs that we have ahead of us right now, we're looking at Ty Chandler.
Not a fan.
Kendre Miller.
Nope.
Jaleel McLaughlin.
Hell yeah.
That's who you picked recently. We talked about the fact that he could come in and steal the show from a recovering Denver offense.
New regime, Javonte Williams, maybe he gets traded. Maybe Jaleel's just the number 2 back. I think worst case scenario, he's the number 2 back. They also drafted Audric Estime over there, who I'm not a fan of. So if they move on from Javonte at some point in the season, or Javonte goes down, Jaleel McLaughlin, granted, it's not a great offense, but we're getting him at running back 47, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Because I think you're just kind of buying him at his floor right here.
And then looking at the other running backs coming behind him, I don't see any names that jump out at me as somebody all the way down to Chuba Hubbard. I like
Chuba.
Yeah.
Ty Chandler, people like him. I don't. I think Aaron Jones is still got it. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe that'll change. Things will happen. I think he's been a little bit injury prone, but I think that has more to do with the Packers training staff more than anything.
We are going to go ahead and pick up Jaleel here with this pick.
Sweet. So we got 4 running backs, which makes me feel pretty good about the 0 RB build. So we waited on 0 RB. Our first running back that we drafted was pick 78.
Yeah.
And our running back room in half PPR is Alvin Kamara, when minus the suspension was like a top 12 running back last year. Raheem Mostert, number 3 overall. Rico Dowdle might be in line to be the number 1 running back.
I think he is.
For the Cowboys. here in Dallas.
Yeah.
So maybe we have a little bit of a better sense to it than most people. Then we have Jaleel McLaughlin, who at worst is a great handcuff back.
Sure. Yeah.
And has a stable floor too. Will get touches every single week.
So now looking up at what we've got going on here, let's see. I've got, where's my team? There you go. 3 QBs. We're done on QBs.
Done on QBs.
4 QBs. One more QB. Or I'm sorry, 4 running backs. One more running back.
At least one more, probably
maybe 2.
2.
Wide receivers. We got 5. 1 to 2 more as well.
We got 5, probably 2,
Okay.
maybe 1.
And then 1 more tight end.
1 to 2 tight ends.
Is that math right? That's 7, 12, 13. We got 5 picks left. We said 2, 2,
Yep.
and 1. That's 5. Yeah.
We need
we're
at
looking at
least 1 more tight end. We need at least one more running back, and we need at least one more wide receiver. So we're
realistically, we're looking at 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a tight end, unless there's a very off ADP look, in which we'll go 3 and 1 and 1.
But in my opinion, Chuba Hubbard for a 0 RB build is going to be a great hack, because even if Jonathan Brooks, coming off an ACL, who I didn't really love coming out of college, takes over as the number 1 back, which
he's still going to get touches, though.
He won't as a rookie.
Yeah.
He's just going to snap his fingers. He's on the pup list. Like he won't. Anyways, Chuba Hubbard's going to be the number 1 back here, I think.
So this is a great get all the way down here in this round.
And maybe that Carolina offense is better this year. And if it is, it's like
gotten worse, bro.
Yeah, exactly. So for a 0 RB build, we're taking. I think we're taking Chuba here.
Yeah. Yeah, I already talked about running back. Well,
Jalen Wright.
I was just about to talk about Jalen Wright. I already mentioned what I think about the running back committee in Miami. That's another name on an already stacked running back field.
So our running back room, I'm pretty happy with it at the moment. Alvin Kamara, Raheem Mostert, so those are the guys that I consider to be like high-end running backs.
Sure.
And then we got Rico Dowdle, Jaleel McLaughlin, Chuba Hubbard, 3 guys who I think have a pretty stable volume floor and a really, really high volume ceiling for touchdowns, in particular for Rico Dowdle, and just total touches for Jaleel McLaughlin and Chuba Hubbard.
Yeah.
So I'm super comfortable. If that's all the running backs that we have, I don't mind it. So it just leaves a lot of options open for us in the future.
So I'm going to be real. I'm looking at the top picks on this list, which is entirely wide receivers with the exception of Ray Davis and Antonio Gibson. I am almost entirely unfamiliar with most of these players.
I like Demarcus Robinson here.
Tell me why.
Demarcus Robinson, he's going to be playing on the Rams. Even if Cooper Kupp comes back and is Cooper Kupp again, which I'm not convinced that he will be at his age, Demarcus Robinson is going to get touchdown opportunities. He really became, if you just turn on the highlight reel. Most people were kind of not paying attention to the Rams anymore. Demarcus Robinson was a pain in the ass if you were a Puka Nacua or a Cooper Kupp manager.
Yeah.
Because he soaked up a lot of targets later on in the season, and they re-signed him.
So
Money
obviously
talks.
They've got faith in the guy, so we should too.
Money talks.
Hey, I'm willing to put $3 on him.
Oh yeah, and it's Matt Stafford too. This will give him 1 year, $5 million contract. So they're paying him. They're paying him to catch footballs. They're not paying him to sit on the bench.
And you don't pay somebody anything with that many figures in it if they're bad at catching footballs. Like That's just a general rule.
Some other options that you have are Adam Thielen. If you're into that, that's cool. I just rather bet on the guy who's on a more powerful offense. What if Puka Nacua or Cooper Kupp goes down with injury?
He's automatically promoted.
He's promoted, and he's going to get a lot of targets. And he looked good. He's a little bit older, late bloomer maybe, but he looked good. And we've seen Matt Stafford take, decent weapons and turn them into diamonds. I'm not saying that about Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. Obviously, those guys are special. But.
So the only 2 remaining running backs I see on this board right now are Antonio Gibson and Bucky Irving and Khalil Herbert. Do you have any opinions on any of those guys?
Hell no.
Do you see any of these wide receivers jumping out at you?
Roman Wilson, I was excited about him pre-draft. I was excited about him when he went to Pittsburgh. There's not a lot of good hype coming out of camp for him. So in a pinch, I'll pick him. But I'm just like really kind of just I'm just thinking you got to draft Demarcus Robinson here. And he falls to you.
And he does go to me. Awesome.
Yeah. Wan'Dale Robinson is an option for you here. I don't know why people would draft him this early, but
again, maybe a team worse than Pittsburgh for drafting is the freaking Giants, dude. They're trash.
And especially watching Hard Knocks. I mean, I guess
Mhm.
people in Hard Knocks are like, into it or whatever, but
And
not
12,
me.
12 picks away now. Maybe it might be time to get that second tight end because there's a few of them that are going to possibly drop to me.
Yeah.
We got Cade Otton, Jonnu Smith, Ben Sinnott, and Chig Okonkwo.
So I would probably just go ahead and take Otton here, even though I like Jonnu a little bit more, just because we waited so long on tight end. I don't think we need 6 running backs anymore. So I think a 3 tight end build, 7 wide receiver build, like a standard build, is probably going to be good for us here.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So
I've got Cade queued up. If he were to drop, Jonnu would be our next choice after that.
Jonnu Smith, I mean, he's a good tight end on a good team. It's going to be highly explosive.
He doesn't have Baker Mayfield throwing through there, so
maybe Jonnu will get touchdown luck there. He's obviously got a lot of target competition. But I think he could luck into like 8 touchdowns this year, which would be pretty sweet if you get him in round 16.
Yeah. And again, that might be a stretch that he's going to fall all the way to us at this point. He might. It's possible, but
just like strategy wise, I'm saying like if I was only going to take one more for the rest of the draft, I'd probably take Jonnu just because I think Cade Otton's ceiling is a little bit capped. But I think we're going to play the ADP game here, strategy wise, and if we can get both, we might as well try. Because if we take Jonnu, then we're way less likely to get Cade. And then if we take Cade,
for sure.
and then we're more likely to get Jonnu Smith on the back end of it.
After that, the only 2 on the board are Ben Sinnott and Okonkwo until there's a big drop all the way down to Johnson, Woods, and Parkinson.
Yeah.
So let's be fingers crossed here. We got 4 picks. They are the number 2 and number 4 pick on the board. It's not insane to think it could happen.
Yeah, I think we're not in too bad a shape here. I'm looking at these other teams. This guy has 1 tight end only. And it seems like everyone else already has 2 other than us. So we're in a pretty good spot here. Although I think this guy's probably going to go ahead and take Cade Otton from us.
It feels like he might, which again, we got Johnny waiting in the wind for us. So it's okay, but it would be cool to grab him in this 2-pick situation.
He's got Jaden Daniels and Matt Stafford. So he might wait.
And this guy already has a tight end.
He might wait on Colby Parkinson, honestly. He does take
just went off him. So Jonnu Smith is going to be our guy
I would take Jonnu. I mean, the best offense that we're projecting, obviously, from right now. Ben Sinnott, I'm not a fan of him. He's a rookie tight end. I'm never going to be a fan of rookie tight ends, even this late, especially when you got Zach Ertz over there in Washington.
I also see Dawson Knox way down the list.
I love Dawson Knox.
He could come down to us in like a couple of rounds. I'm glad you mentioned that. You can get him 18th. You can get him in the 18th round pretty consistently. Yeah.
Super late round tight ends, Jelani Woods, Dawson Knox, and Colby Parkinson. Colby Parkinson's usually gone after the 17th round, but you can get him in the 18th round sometime.
So we got 2 picks left. One of them we're looking ahead at Dawson Knox. The other one we're looking at a kind of a gamble wide receiver, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking at somebody that maybe they probably don't have a ton of buzz, but if it blows up, they could have a high ceiling.
Yeah.
I don't know any of these people. I know that you mentioned do not, under any circumstances, draft Clyde Edwards-Helaire from Kansas City at the running back position.
Prince. Deneric Prince.
Yeah.
Is the guy you want from Kansas City if you're super late RB. But I don't think we necessarily need an RB.
We need a wide receiver.
I would be a lot more comfortable with a late round wide receiver here.
I don't see anybody that I know other than maybe Zay Jones. He's pretty deep down there. That I would say is like a high ceiling gamble, but please, you might know somebody else on this list here.
Chase Claypool. You'll have to scroll really, really down. That'll probably be our last pick. Okay. So I think what we're going to do here, what we're going to plan on doing here,
Dawson Knox
is we're going to go tight end, and then we're going to go Chase Claypool. And then if Claypool's gone, we'll scroll back up and take Odell. And the only reason I'm taking Odell second out of the 2 is because I think he's got a little bit of an injury. Which I don't love.
You said no. I'm sorry. Who had the injury? I just saw Prince.
Odell.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're looking for Claypool.
And if they're all gone, we're just gonna take Prince and we're gonna ride with them.
Dude, I'm scrolling pretty far. Not
you gotta search
Claypool.
It. He'll be 24-ish. Deneric Prince.
Oh, I saw Prince. I thought you said we were looking for Claypool because we're going with wide receiver.
Oh, Claypool is pretty far down. You gotta search it.
Which this is a great time.
So
to
you
go
to the search, the search icon next to the QB button.
QB up there it is right there. Yeah, Claypool.
Type it in. Claypool.
Buffalo. All right. We're going to go ahead and add him to the queue, or can I do that from here?
Yep, hit the star.
Boom. There it is.
Got it.
So now we've got Dawson Knox and Claypool queued up. They're both pretty deep. I don't really feel like this is going to be a sweat, especially with one pick to go here.
I would take, Dawson Knox. Colby Parkinson, I would probably recommend ahead of Dawson Knox, just because he'll be the number one tight end.
You want
there.
me to do that right now?
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go Colby over Dawson Knox, which means that our last pick is going to no longer be.
So delete Dawson Knox from your queue.
Yep.
By going to queue, or you can hit it right there too.
And that's going to leave us with just Chase Claypool right there.
Yep. So Chase Claypool, and if he's gone, I think Odell's still available.
I feel like it's a low chance that he's going to go gone at this point. He's way down on that board. There's a bunch of wide receivers.
It'll happen here and there.
Fair enough.
But
there's at least 12 wide receivers in front of him.
Yeah.
We got 9 picks.
So we'll give you from the top down. We went Amon-Ra, Nico Collins, Michael Pittman, George Pickens, Lamar Jackson, Xavier Worthy, Alvin Kamara, Raheem Mostert. So we filled up our wide receiver room quickly. We got a premium quarterback, and then we started to fill up that running back room. Classic 0 RB build. Then we got David Njoku, Jared Goff, Caleb Williams, who fell to us, Rico Dowdle, Jaleel McLaughlin, Chuba Hubbard, Demarcus Robinson, Jonnu Smith, and Colby Parkinson.
Yep. With our last pick looking like it will be Claypool, unless it somehow, somebody has the same insight this guy does.
So the reason I'm taking Claypool is he could just be Josh Allen's ex in Buffalo, and we've seen what that looks like with Stephon Diggs. And what if Stephon Diggs maybe is old and kind of washed up, and that's why they kind of got away from him last year? And what if Claypool kind of gets his shit together this year and kind of matures like James?
It's a lot of what ifs, but what if they all happen? That's the thing.
Well, that's the thing, and you can play the what if game in round 18
for sure. Yeah, this is for sure a gamble. And I mean, there's realistically not any high value players remaining on this.
Yeah, so I guess let's talk about it. I like Will Shipley from Philadelphia. He's a good handcuff back potentially. Jaleel McLaughlin in the 18th round would be fine.
Oh, quarterback contest winner from 2 years ago, Derek Carr, is still on the board. You sure we don't want to go with that?
Derek Carr scares me because he might not be starting.
Actually, Russell Wilson is legitimately still on this board.
I love getting Russell Wilson late. He does have a little bit of an injury or whatever. It doesn't sound like it's serious, like a little calf tightness.
But I think with me already having 3 QBs, as we already discussed, Russell Wilson, while I think a great value in this spot, not worth it.
Hell yeah. Derek Carr goes. So that's going to be Chase Claypool. So our roster will be the quarterback room will be Lamar Jackson, Jared Goff, Caleb Williams. Our running back room's Alvin Kamara, Raheem Mostert, Rico Dowdle, Jaleel McLaughlin, Chuba Hubbard. Whew. And then our wide receiver room is Amon-Ra St. Brown paired with Jared Goff, Nico Collins, Michael Pittman, George Pickens, Xavier.
I like that Xavier Worthy doesn't even have a picture up on the app yet. Like it's just a like outline of a like stick figure.
Xavier Worthy, our fifth wide receiver. Demarcus Robinson and Chase Claypool. And our tight end room stacked. David Njoku. We'll see what that injury is. Jonnu Smith and Colby Parkinson. How do you think that went, Mr. Miles?
I feel really good about it, man. I feel dumb that we made that one error where I just didn't know how to click the button, but that's literally why we're doing this. So
Nico Collins is a dog.
And you can learn from my $3 mistake that might have panned out anyway, but I just literally didn't scroll down quite far enough. Very clearly there's a draft button if you just move a little bit further down your screen. But
that might be the Android's fault, honestly.
I think the biggest thing, my takeaway from this, I feel good about the team. I'm excited to see how it goes. We should definitely review this, mid-season or late season to see how it's going. But the biggest takeaway, I would say, if I'm doing this again on my own, which I'm obviously going to be doing more of these later, use that queue feature, because that queue feature can really save you in a pickle. Even if you're deciding, just queue up one of them, because the worst thing in the planet is you're deciding between 2 players and you can't decide and you try to flick one and you fat thumb it. Mm-hmm. And then you end up not getting the draft off, or you lose Wi-Fi, or you lose cell phone reception. 3, 2, 1. You drive through Michigan for some reason. And you draft some guy that you hate. You draft some guy that just got suspended or just tore his ACL, which is obviously not a good option if you're trying to make money. So use the queue. Anything else, Miles? Dude, I can't think of a better way to spend an hour and 24 minutes than spending only $3.
It's usually not that long, but it is entertaining.
Yeah.
We were on the edge of our seat a few times. Thank you for joining me on the Casting Couch here in Dallas. Please subscribe to the channel. We do a lot of content like this and other content. Check it out through our shorts or whatever. Thank you. Follow at Mr. Most Days Off, Miles Francis on social media. Follow me at JMJKS on Twitter. Subscribe and leave a comment. Good night.